specialist from Rock River Community Clinic presenting at the JCLC classroom. We've also invited families of students receiving English language services at the Jefferson School District. Looking forward, we'll have a tour of Madison Area Technical College in February, and in April, a field trip to the Job Service Center here in Jefferson. So on the citizenship, in your annual report, we closed out the year welcoming a new citizen, Mario, in June. And since then, we welcomed Omar and Tanya in October, and they were assigned to the same oath ceremony, which was really powerful and moving. And on Monday of last week, our newest citizen passed her interview and is waiting the details of her oath ceremony. We still have 10 adult learning opportunities for English language services across Jefferson County. So Waterloo, Watertown, and here in Jefferson, we have an additional 30 tutor learner pairs meeting in public spaces across the county. And a story I'd like to share for that is we have a foreign-born professional who works here in Jefferson County. He's learning English as a second language. He came to JCLC referred by his employer. He works with a tutor twice a week to perfect his speaking and communication so that he can respond to questions and comments about their company's products. So he brings with him his PowerPoint presentation and works with his tutor on going over those things. And then finally, in the GED, HSED area, in March, we had a 39-year-old Jefferson mother of 3 come to us referred by her employer of 9 years. She had taken on the responsibilities of a role that required a high school diploma, and she didn't have that. So her employer set that goal that she would have her high school diploma before the end of 2024. And in October, she took her last GED test. She met with a tutor every week for a couple of hours in the afternoon and kind of moved through each of the tests. And she is excited about taking on the new responsibilities with the title and the compensation that goes with it. So do you have any questions?
Questions for Pam? Seeing none, thank you, Pam. Appreciate your work.
Thank you very much.
Item C, we will postpone for another month. And item D, administration. Mr. Waymeyer, your last swing at the bat here.
Last one, sir. I think, see, Mr. Schrader's here too. My second chair I worked for, and then so it's been a ride. So I kind of picked this as you're going to see a theme tonight as I kind of talk through the annual report / final thoughts, and I did it on purpose. And it's not just because it was Kikkoman. I think it's because it's a group picture. And the goal as we start talking about what we've been trying to do is how do we do this together? And in this photo, you're going to see everything from the city to county folks, the state, and the company folks. But the goal of this was try to symbolize that at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is a team sport. And that's to do the best we can for those residents and citizens of Jefferson County in this greater region. And kind of looking at this time to celebrate as a community kind of reinforces everything that goes on day to day here. And so I kind of just want to briefly talk through a few things in review of 2024 because it was a heck of a year. But then kind of reflections as I look at the past roughly decade or so. So it made it really easy because I kind of did this already for the budget presentation, talking about what all took place this year. There's a few things I didn't talk about, and one I kind of missed was the opening of the Youth Crisis Stabilization Facility. I'm not sure everyone realizes how big of a deal that kind of is for serving the kids we need, how it is for the state of Wisconsin. But I think it kind of, there's a theme as we go through this too, is you as a board, let's get creative. There's not a lot of boards that say, hey, you know what, how about you guys go figure this out, open up this kind of hospital kind of thing, get some at-risk kids to help them out, and find a way to fund it and put some things in place to protect the county. Those in need. It's one of 3 in the state, and I think we're always full. And that's a commentary we're at, but it's also great we have that service available to support not only kids in our county, but this entire region. The third one down, there, 2 of them are here tonight. So one thing as I reflect back, and as I see where we're positioned for the future, your department heads are a heck of a team. We brought Michael on last year, Danielle on last year, and now we got two that are floating around too, Becky and Tracy. And they've really taken their roles and they've taken them and accelerated it. So you should have every confidence as you look to the future of this whole team. They got your back, and they're going to help take things forward for the future. We talked a lot about the housing and what's going on. We got some exciting things that are going to continue to go forward there. I'll talk a lot about that in the future. We really try to get the word about Jefferson County. So you saw the film tonight with Trek, but it's a lot of that media that we're trying to do. But the cool thing as we start talking about that communication piece is Michael has started to host a pre-meeting, because he and I have a meeting almost every Monday at 10:30 with Carl. But there's a team meeting before that, and it's department heads getting together. And it's not just it's a cool thing of cross-pollinating what's going on in the county and folks recognizing what's going on and just having a simple conversation. What a concept. It's a great thing. And then we talked a lot about some of these I'll talk through here a little bit more. And I always continue to force, we talk about the big wins, but the small wins for the people we serve is the biggest thing on a day-to-day basis. So here's my reflection. I started saying the top 10, then I realized I had probably more than 10. And then I'm like, I can't really rank these all. So I'll just kind of talk through some reflection. I'm probably missing some stuff that everyone did together. First one off the bat is just, it's a big part of what we do. It's alignment of resources, and that's the budget and fiscal reporting. And I am pretty proud that we started 10 plus years ago to get the award for how we report the audit, to show transparency of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And not only the transparency, but testing the system that we're following the policies and procedures in place. That's what that is. It's a report card of how we're doing. And then also how we do the budget. For those who've been around a little bit, the budget's changed slightly in the last 10 years. The process has changed slightly in the last 11 plus years. And it's been more of a partnership of how we do it. And I still hear the urban legends today of what it was like back in the day. Sometimes I think the urban legend has grown more and more. Not sure if that's coming from me or for some other folks, but just at the end of the day, I think we've really got nailed down of where it can go. And there's going to be some hard work coming up, and I think we talked about that already. But a lot of that being in place is huge. A lot of work is plan, strategic plan, comprehensive plan, and how do we align resources. So we can talk about the concepts of what to do, but we really got to find a way to make them happen. And how do you make them happen is time and talent and money. And so that's really how we allocate those resources to make it happen, and priority-based budgeting was a part of that conversation. But again, something happened with that organically. People started looking at duplication among departments. They started looking at how they could partner. And it was just a conversation of building that team. The next two, I think, is just, again, the theme of where things have headed, and I'm proud of where things have gone. We've done a lot of public-private partnerships, so a few key highlights is we have a business gap, RLF, between the county and about 5 financial institutions in the county. Now we got to work on the interest rate to get people to use it a little bit more, but it is available, but it's cool that people trusted the county enough to make that happen. Obviously, we have the Live Local Development Fund that has quickly grown. I don't think when we put this together last year, we'd known in a year we'd add almost $10 million. I think that's a huge accomplishment for a county our size, and we should be proud that people are willing to work together on solving a problem. 2016 is, I think I signed the documents that we, again, the board let us do this. Not a lot of boards just let the county administrator go out with his team and say, let's go set up a 501c3 to do something different. And that was the development of what's now known as Thrive ED, to bring private and public together to talk about economic development and many other things. And then finally, broadband. We've done a lot of partnerships on that as well, too. And I know there's a few other things we could talk about. Intergovernmental collaboration. This list can keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is an awesome thing. So JCEDC is the intergovernmental body for economic development. I see our Fort Atkinson librarian is here, but talking about the development of the Bridges library system. We identified an issue with our old federated library system. We put a program together, partnered with Waukesha County, and eventually that thing made it through all the way with all the municipalities and all the county boards approving with not one negative vote on that thing. So that was pretty cool. The only thing I got in trouble for is my oldest daughter during that time is they were going to the new system, and she loved libraries, so she couldn't get a book for a week, and I got in big trouble for that. We've done a variety of shared position, contract positions. Some have had success, and we've had some failures, but it doesn't mean you stop trying of looking at ways, and we got some good things going on right now, specifically with GIS. Through the land and zoning, and then in land and water, we got contractor work going up in Watertown as well too. The concept of having embedded crisis workers with law enforcement has been significant in terms of that partnership. We've already covered the Youth Crisis Stabilization Facility. I don't know how many places have a joint city-county park, but that we kicked that off and did some joint funding to make that happen, to revitalize a riverfront. And hopefully in a year we see some new development going on along that place that help fund it and make it happen. And I just put conversations. Since my friends from the city are here, Main Street here, the stories I always got was almost like a moat at some points in times. And what I appreciate is the fact that we can have those conversations of how we can work together, and that's not just with the city of Jefferson, but throughout our towns and villages and cities across Jefferson County. We got a plan in place, and then we're going to finish that interurban trail. And then if those who can't see and who those know the story, we got Augie to get to ride on it. Augie's not with us anymore. But he was in City Council of Watertown and served it for the Watertown City for numerous years. This was his pride and passion, so that was we got him pedaling down there when he did the ribbon cutting. But that thing, our portion will be done next year, and then Waukesha County will finish theirs in 2026 for almost 50 years now. I'm trying to get my head. 50-year plan has finally come together through a lot of public, private, and hard work of a lot of people together. A redo of our road corridor plan for a 20-year plan, and that's resulted in those road ratings changing a lot. If you haven't noticed, we've done a little bit of construction around these parts. So my very first job was I got here. So first of all, Jim Schrader was on the board, and he said, maybe we should slow down the highway shop and let Ben do something different. But we kept going, but then we did some other stuff. First thing was we had to demo the old nursing home. Then we had to demo the old highway site. We disposed of all these old satellite shops. I think we had like 50 of them, it felt like at one point. Over exaggeration, I think it was like 4. But still, it was interesting. And we built new highway central shop, 2 satellite shops, this lovely project, a lot of work at the South Campus and the training facility for the Sheriff's Department and the local law enforcement. We talked a lot about broadband. We talked a lot about proactive measures. So even before I was here, this community had this whole idea of what's called crisis intervention training. When our law enforcement worked in human services, and almost everyone is qualified and trained in that to move forward. And that's really how do you de-escalate situations. And today, the Human Services Board met because they give an annual award for crisis intervention training. And the stories you talk about what our law enforcement does and how they interact, I wish those stories got out more. And the story that will be the award is pretty significant. And in essence, that person said, you saved my life when it could have been a lot worse. And so that's a pretty proud thing to keep going on. I talked about the embedding of crisis workers. Law enforcement was a huge lift. I have a youth crisis in here a lot. I apologize. Right after the pandemic, Kathy Colley worked to get more school psychotherapists from human services into our schools more to help deal with some of the concerns we had coming out of the pandemic. And they're still there today, help providing support in many different ways. And there's a lot of other things that have been proactive. I like to use Healthiest Communities a lot. It's a nice thing to say we're doing very well with that, but I think it shows the needles are being moved. I think we talked a lot about the various areas that they qualify with data sources on as a snapshot of where we're at, but we keep seeing improvements with the outcomes, and that's a positive thing. We developed a criminal justice collaboration council that was not in place before. We developed treatment courts. Areas of improvement, but it's a way to get the partners together to talk about how we're managing stuff for the future. This last point, I want to make sure that I don't think we talked to the board enough about what your staff does. I think I can go through the list of some of our department heads and how often they're asked to speak on issues at the state and regional levels as experts. A lot of times we'll have folks come here. We had the lieutenant governor come here, I think it was last year, to kind of look at what we're doing in human services as an example. I joke with Deb. We have to have a booking agent for all the time she's being asked to speak about the stuff that's going on here in Jefferson County. Kevin's doing stuff with parks and the things they've done. He's talked about what he's done with human services and training in terms of how do you deal with potential homeless people in the parks and how do you get them services. I can keep going through the list. Stacy Hoffman's on WCA board, and we just keep going from there. So recognize, again, not only have folks who care about what's going on here, but they're looking at ideas that make things better for the rest of the state. Leadership development has been a significant change here, and HR department, Terry and a lot of the department heads have looked at this. We're, I would say but we are part of the biggest users of the local government academy. That's a partnership between WCA and UW Extension. So I kind of go through the back row and a lot of others. I don't know if you realize how many of our department heads internally have gone through that program in preparation for leadership roles. And so I see Patricia, Stacy was already there. Audrey went through our program before she got elected. Kelly, Kevin went through that. Deb went through that. So, and that's just a few in the room right now. So, and we got more than that. So something to be proud of as we look at how you fill these roles. We're looking at externally, but we're also looking internally as well. Employee recognition, this is always an area we can do better at. But we've rolled out some new programs, and I give Tammy a lot of credit with the department heads and HR staff. But we kind of do these annual holiday gifts now. We have the annual luncheon that many of you participate in, celebrate birthdays, work anniversaries. When we first rolled this out many moons ago, it was kind of funny. Some of the older department heads said, who aren't with us anymore, retired, I want my 5, 10, 15, 20-year anniversary gifts. I'm like, give us a little bit of a break. But we're there, but something that we got to continue to work on. My last reflection before I get my final thoughts is this last one's important. When I've had conversations with folks about the transition coming up, I said, Google us right now. You're going to see two things. You're going to see positive stories of what's going on in Jefferson County. And you're not going to see stories about us fighting in public meetings on the board floor. And you're not going to find that everywhere. Those are two positive things that you all should be proud of. But again, it's an idea of how we built the relationship between the board and staff and that trust you entrusted us all with, and I know we'll continue going forward. So my final thoughts. The nitty-gritty work, policies. Everyone loves policies. I love to talk about it. You got a lot of policies tonight that we're trying to get done, but continue to look at these things as they come up because they're going to be needed to guide the future. Our finances are in a good spot, but it's continuing to work, and there's going to be some proactive measures because there's some things coming forward to look at for the future. Be prepared for change. And really, as you reflect back, I look at some of our structures, and some of these structures were kind of created in the late 1800s, right? If you look at county government, municipal government, and we kind of got some different problems going on. And so part of this, how do we have the structures in place? And that means being creative of intergovernmental public-private partnerships to make that thing happen. So are we prepared to have those structure changes for the future to manage the needs? A lot of times we say we want to change our outcomes. But the important thing to change those outcomes is those little thing called inputs. And those are the tough things that move forward. How do you change inputs? Because you're doing something different. What I know is if you change inputs, you might not necessarily change the outcomes, but I know if you keep inputs the same, guess what's going to happen to the outcomes? They're going to stay status quo. So if you want to change those outcomes, you got to change those inputs. Continue the recruitment and retention of staff. The cost for talent is going to continue to go forward, but you got to do creative ways to make things work going forward. And just continue to maintain those relationships and in the collaboration. At the end of the day, I think as we've gone through a few things with the media, what's become organic is the term collaboration. It's not just a buzzword that's going on around here, right? People truly understand that folks are working together and make good things happen. So with that being said, Mr. Chair, I appreciate everyone's support. And I went quicker than I thought, but thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Waymire while we still got him?
They'll find me, Mr. Chair.
Okay. See none. Thank you very much, Ben. Takes us to page 2. Committee reports, resolutions, and ordinances. Finance Committee. Mr. Jones is excused tonight. He is in the hospital. So we are asking Mr. Drain to do all the talking tonight.
Wonderful.
So the first one is ordinance repealing and replacing ordinance 2002-12 pertaining to the administration and management of tax foreclosed lands. Mr. Draina.
Ordinance 2024-15.
15.
Executive summary. Wisconsin Legislature recently enacted 2023 Wisconsin Act 207 regarding the sale of tax deeded properties. This act cleaned up some issues from the revisions to the tax foreclosure policy set forth in 2021 Act 216. Under prior law, Jefferson County could, at its discretion, allow the former owner of all property types to repurchase their property following a tax foreclosure. Act 207 now requires that repurchase be offered to the former owners of single-family, owner-occupied homes and the former owner's heirs and beneficiaries. Act 207 further requires that in addition to paying all past taxes, interest, and penalties, the former owner must also pay to satisfy any liens that existed on the property prior to the foreclosure in the order to repurchase. This means that repurchasing will be less financially feasible for most homeowners. The recent changes in the law also expanded those entitled to surplus proceeds from homestead properties to all property owners. Additionally, it set forth a revised procedure for distribution of those proceeds. This proposed ordinance reflects the changes in the law related to the sale of tax foreclosed properties, the former owner's rights to repurchase, and the distribution of surplus proceeds. The Finance Committee considered this ordinance at its meeting on December 3rd, 2024, and recommended forwarding it to the County Board for adoption. Fiscal note. The impact of Wisconsin 75.36 is such that Wisconsin counties are no longer eligible to retain the amounts received from the sale of the property, tax foreclosed properties in excess of the delinquent taxes and associated interest and penalties, less any related expenses as defined by Wisconsin statute 75.36 sub 3. Mr. Chair, I request the adoption of ordinance 2024-15.
Moved by Mr. Drana. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ordinance passes. Takes us to item B, resolution adopting revised real estate tax foreclosure policy. Mr. Drana.
Resolution 2024
66.
Executive summary. Jefferson County previously elected by ordinance to utilize the in-rem foreclosure process to enforce tax liens. Pursuant to County Board rules, the Finance Committee oversees the in-rem foreclosure process and the sale of foreclosed properties in accordance with established policies set last reviewed in 2022. Recent changes in the law regarding tax foreclosures required staff to rewrite the existing real estate tax foreclosure policy to ensure legal compliance. These changes primarily related to the sale of tax foreclosed properties and the distribution of surplus proceeds. Additionally, the policy was updated to increase efficiency and clarify staff roles and responsibilities. The revised policy increases collection efforts on the front end in an attempt to reduce the number of delinquent properties requiring formal action and streamlines the sale process to reduce costs and increase participation. This resolution adopts the attached revised real estate tax foreclosure policy. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its December 3rd, 2024 meeting and recommended forwarding it to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the impact of Wisconsin 75.36 is such that Wisconsin counties are no longer eligible to retain amounts received from the sale of the property, tax foreclosed properties in excess of the delinquent tax and associated interest and penalties, less any related expenses as defined by Wisconsin statute 75.36 sub 3. I respectfully submit that the resolution 2024-66 be approved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Drana, second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passes on voice. Item C, ordinance amending sections of the Jefferson County Purchasing Ordinance. Mr. Drana.
Ordinance 2024-16, executive summary. Jefferson County, making sure I'm reading the right one. Jefferson County adopted the purchasing ordinance in 2018, which governs the process to be used for the procurement of all goods and services by Jefferson County. The purpose of the ordinance is to ensure the most efficient and responsible use of public funds. In an effort to align purchasing procedures with the current needs of Jefferson County and increase consistency in implementation, yes. The following amendments to the purchasing ordinance are proposed. Number one, clarifications regarding the applicability of the ordinance. Number two, revising and refining language throughout the ordinance to address frequently asked questions and increase clarity for staff implementing the ordinance. Number three, outlining alternative procurement procedures and providing for greater flexibility where the standard competitive bidding process is impractical or contrary to the best interests of the county due to the market conditions and the county's current needs. Number four, updating language to comply with Wisconsin state statutes. The Finance Committee reviewed the proposed amendments of the purchasing ordinance at its meeting December 3rd, 2024, and recommended forwarding the amendments to the county board for approval. Fiscal note, the purchasing ordinance is designed to achieve the purposes described in Section 2 of the ordinance. The adoption of this ordinance provides assurance that the county is advocating for free and open competition and receiving the best value for its taxpayers. Mr. Chair, I recommend the adoption of ordinance 2024-16.
Moved by Mr. Drina, second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion on this ordinance? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Is
Oh,
it gonna be,
wait a second. Mr. Gross, you had a question?
yes, is this gonna be transparent to the whole county when this is going on for any purchasing?
It's certainly transparent. This will be in the board minutes, and this is the way we do business, yes. Anybody else has to add? It's just an update of this that's already exists. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed by voice. Takes us to item D, resolution amending the 2024 and 2025 county budgets. Mr. Drina, this will require a 2/3 vote.
Resolution 2024-67, executive summary. During the 2025 budget process, it became apparent that the county did not have adequate tax levy to fund both ongoing operations and capital purchases. The capital purchases that were included in the original 2025 budget were only those items that were funded through sources other than levy. At the time, the Finance Committee directed Administrator and the Finance to project the year-end results for 2024 to determine whether adequate funds existed for 2025 capital requests. On December 3rd, 2024, the Finance Committee met to review the year-end results. While the county expects the end of the year with the while the county expects to end the year with a modest general fund surplus, this surplus will not be adequate to fund all capital requests. The Finance Committee has recommended that the county use fund balance for the purchase of the 2025 capital and to investigate alternative financing methods for capital purchases going into the 2026 budget. Jefferson County also received its needs assessment study from Whitfley LLP, outlining strategies for addressing the opioid crisis. Other staffing requests arising from the 2025 budget process but needing further study were presented to the Finance Committee as well. The Finance Committee also recommends the reclassification of a full-time IT specialist position in the Sheriff's Office on a limited term employment, which had been approved by the Human Resources Committee at its November 19th meeting. This has a zero net effect of the 2025 budget, and it better reflects the current role's responsibilities. As part of the 2025 budget process, County Administrator presented for the approval. Let me start that again. As part of the 2025 budget process, County Administration presented for approval the procurement of a contract with Carl James and Company for public relations / marketing / communications consulting. This will be paid for using ARPA funds, and given the nature of the procurement, the county will be using the exception under 2 CFR 200.320 sub C sub 2 described in the body of the resolution. Finally, the county is finalizing all projects that were funded by American Rescue Plan Act ARPA dollars. Some projects were underspent, and the county desires to repurpose funding from these projects to other needs that have arisen. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its December 3rd, 2024 meeting and recommended forwarding the county board for approval. Fiscal note. This resolution authorizes Finance Director to make necessary budget adjustments to enact this resolution. As a budget amendment, this resolution requires 20 of 30 affirmative votes for passage. Mr. Chair, I recommend the passage of Resolution 2024-67.
Moved by Mr. Drainer, second by Mr. Jekyll. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, please vote on your tablets.
Supervisor Herbst?
Yes.
We have 26 yes, 1 no, 3 absent.
Okay, move to item E, resolution authorizing the county administrator to execute cost share agreement with City of Jefferson for the Food and Beverage Innovation Camp. Mr. Drainer.
Resolution 2024-68. Executive summary. Jefferson County, in collaboration with the City of Jefferson, has developed the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus on property owned by Jefferson County to facilitate development, public improvements, and utility infrastructure are necessary. The City of Jefferson has borrowed approximately $9,675,000 to fund the public improvements for the campus. Jefferson County has agreed to share in the cost of construction of a sewer lift station, which is sized to accommodate future purchasers of county property. The proposed cost share agreement provides Jefferson County to assume responsibility for $450,000 of the city's debt plus interest as its contribution to the cost of the sewer lift station. Per the agreement, the county's first payment of $30,000 plus interest will be due in 2030, and payments will continue annually through 2044, unless Jefferson County's share is satisfied earlier by prepayment or surplus increment. This resolution authorizes the county administrator to execute the cost share agreement with the City of Jefferson to fund the portion of the sewer lift station as set forth above. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on December 3rd, 2024, and recommended forwarding it to the county board for approval. Fiscal note. The Finance Department will work together with administration and the Finance Committee to implement these payments into the budget process for 2030 and beyond. Mr. Chair, I recommend the passage of Resolution 2024-68.
Moved by Mr. Drainer, second by Mr. Jekyll. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, passes on voice. Item F, resolution accepting a $10,000 grant from Wisconsin Department of Health Services for ADRC marketing, rebranding, and outreach, and amending the 2025 Human Services Department budget. This will require a 2/3 vote.
Resolution 2024-69, executive summary. The State of Wisconsin Department of Health Services has received funding to modernize the logo for the Aging and Disability Resource Centers, to build awareness of ADRC, to create a new website and recovery or resource directory, and to make other improvements. Local agencies like Jefferson County ADRC are being provided with funding to update materials to align with this effort. Jefferson County Human Services will use this funding to update agency signs, vehicle wraps, and other printed materials. This resolution also authorizes the acceptance of $10,000 from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services and amends the 2025 Human Services budget accordingly. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on December 3rd, 2024, and recommended forwarding it to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note. Please see attached budget adjustment and amendment request form for the proposed adjustments to the 2025 budget. This is a budget amendment. The County Board approval requires 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the county board, 20 votes of the 30 county board members. Mr. Chair, I recommend the passage of Resolution 2024-69.
Moved by Mr. Drina. Second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, please vote on your tablet.
Supervisor Herbst?
Aye.
We have 27 yes and 3 absent.
Thank you. Again, passes. Moves on to item G, resolution authorizing the sale of county-owned land. Mr. Drina.
Resolution 2024-70. Executive summary. Jefferson County entered into a letter of intent on November 18th, 2024, to set forth the terms and conditions for the sale of 25.913 acres within the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus located at Innovation Drive, Jefferson, Wisconsin. The county has received a purchase of and sale agreement from Inigo Bio, Inc., a Delaware corporation, for the amount of $777,000. Under the terms of this agreement, there exists a 12-month due diligence period with up to 2 consecutive extensions at the county's discretion, each up to 6 months. Inigo Bio's mission is to build a more resilient food system with sustainable protein production. Their location within the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus is in alignment with the priority area of the food and beverage manufacturing identified by the county economic development. The Finance Committee had previously considered authorization of entering into this letter of intent at the time under the name Project GoldenEye. At their meeting November 5th, 2024, and the full county board approved a motion to authorize the county administrator to negotiate and execute a letter of intent on behalf of Jefferson County with Project GoldenEye for the sale of county-owned land at their meeting November 12th, 2024. The purchase and sale agreement is consistent with the terms approved through the letter of intent. Fiscal note. Proceeds from the sale of the county farmland related to the purchase agreement with Inigo Bio shall initially be deposited into the Capital Projects Fund. At such time the proceeds are received, the Finance Committee will determine an appropriate use for the proceeds and recommend this usage to the County Board of Supervisors for their approval. Mr. Chair, I recommend the passage of Resolution 2024-70.
Moved by Mr. Drina, second by Mr. Jaco. Questions, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. And now that you've caught your breath, one more.
Wow.
Item H, resolution authorizing the sale of tax foreclosed property to the city of Jefferson.
Resolution 2024-71. Executive summary. In June of this year, Jefferson County acquired the former Tyson Foods facility located at One River Road and Linden Drive in the city of Jefferson. Parcel number listed via the in rem tax foreclosure process. The former property owner had not paid real estate taxes since 2019, resulting in delinquent taxes, interest, and fees in excess of $300,000. Since acquiring the property, Jefferson County has incurred holding costs, including expenses to secure buildings, stormwater fees, etc. Pursuant to the county's tax foreclosure policy, the county offered the property for sale via sealed bid process with a minimum bid of tax assessed value per the tax bill of $1,778,500. No bids were received. Per the county's policy, the county subsequently listed the property for sale for a second round with a minimum bid of $317,000, which was equal to the amount of delinquent taxes, interest, and costs. Again, no bids were received. To perform its due diligence regarding the value of the property, the county retained Valbridge Property Advisors to conduct a professional appraisal. Valbridge Property Advisors opined that the fair market value of the property is $1. Valbridge determined that the highest and best use of the property is redevelopment, given the deteriorating conditions of the improvements improvements and its location in the floodplain. The estimated cost of demolition of the improvements exceeds the land value. The city of Jefferson has offered to purchase the property as is for $1. The city intends to explore redevelopment options. Given the condition of the property, any redevelopment will likely require financial assistance from the city of Jefferson. In this case, conveying the property to the city of Jefferson is in the county's best interests. The resolution authorizes the county administrator to negotiate the final terms and finalize the sale of the property to the city of Jefferson. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on December 3rd, 2024, and recommended forwarding it to the county board for their approval. Fiscal note. Delinquent taxes, special assessments, and interest for both parcels from 2019 through 2023 total $300,776.58. The 2024 property taxes are expected to approximate the 2023 taxes at $35,753.61. Special assessments for one Rock River Road parcel are expected to total $53,477.48 through 2024. The city of Jefferson has agreed to waive $43,477.48 of that special assessments. The loss of property tax and interest on the sale of these two parcels for the tax years 2019 through 2024 would be approximately $293,051.71, which is $336,530.19 of the total outstanding tax and interest less $43,477.48 of special assessments waived by the city, plus the $1 purchase price. The loss amount does not include the utility and maintenance costs for the parcels while they were owned by the county, nor does it include rent collected from Nestle during the time that the county owned the properties. Mr. Chair, I recommend the passage of Resolution 2024-71.
Second. Moved by Mr. Drainus, second by Mr. Jacob. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? I would ask the sheriff to collect that dollar from the mayor before he leaves.
What about the negotiation?
Okay, takes us to item 11, Parks Committee. Resolution authorizing the transfer of donations to the Jefferson County Parks Endowment with the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin, and establishing a policy for future use of the funds and amending the 2024 budget. This will require a 2/3 vote. Mr. Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have resolution number 72, as you were. In 2011, Jefferson County established the Jefferson County Parks Endowment Fund with the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin to help provide an avenue for private donors to support recreational improvement to the county's parks and trails. The endowment provides perpetual annual disbursements of 4.75% of the principal balance annually to support county park improvement projects. The fund has grown from the original $10,000 in 2011 to $46,426.88 in 2024 through the generosity of private donations and fundraising events by the Parks Department and its partners. Additional donations have been bequeathed to the Jefferson County Parks Department with the intent of building and supporting the mission of the department. In reviewing the best long-term outcomes, staff is seeking to add these funds to the current endowment portfolio to build the fund's ability to provide meaningful annual funding contributions to the county parks projects. The transfer of these funds to the existing endowment would provide more flexibility in the fund investment, as well as a stable income for parks improvement projects in perpetuity. Current funds available to invest total approximately $323,498.35 and include the Garmin Estate Fund, Carroll Little Estate Fund, and an additional memorial donation. This resolution authorizes the Jefferson County Parks Department to deposit the donations outlined above into the Jefferson County Parks Endowment Fund held through the Natural Resources Foundation of Wisconsin and adopts a policy for future use of the funds. The Parks Committee considered this resolution at its meeting on December 5, 2024, and recommended forwarding it on to the county board for approval. Fiscal note. The transfer of funds to the Natural Resources Foundation will require an amendment to the 2024 budget in the amount of $323,498.35. This resolution authorizes the finance director to make the necessary budget adjustments to enact this resolution. As a budget amendment, this resolution requires 20 of 30 affirmative votes for passage. Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of this resolution.
Move by Mr. Christensen, second by Ms. Callan. Questions? Discussion? Seeing none, please vote on your tablet.
Supervisor Herbst?
Yes.
Mr. Gross?
We have 26 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain, and 3 absent.
Okay, thank you. The resolution passes. Item 12, Human Services Board. Resolution authorizing Human Services Department to contract for senior dining and home delivered meals program. Mr. Coots.
Resolution 2024-73, Jefferson County through the Senior Dining and Home Delivered Meal Program provides persons 60 and older with a healthy, high-quality, and safe meal that meet 1/3 of the dietary reference intakes and recommended daily allowances for seniors. The program also offers opportunities for socialization. Jefferson County contracts with a vendor to prepare and serve the meals. Jefferson County recently solicited proposals from vendors to provide this service. 2 proposals were received in response to the county's solicitation. Files Supper Club, Inc. and Atlantis Valley Foods, LLC. Files bid was $6.45 per meal for 2025. Atlantis Valley bid was $8.50 per meal for 2025, with an assurance the price would remain the same for 2026. Pursuant to the county's purchasing ordinance and the terms of the request for proposals, the proposals were evaluated based on the ability and capacity and skill of the vendor, past performance, availability, and price. The proposals were reviewed by staff, the ADRC Advisory Committee, the Human Services Board. While Files' proposal offered the lowest price point, it was determined Files is not a qualified vendor based on past performance issues. Files is the current vendor, and during the past year, Human Services staff has found instances of non-compliant and inadequate meals from Files, including but not limited to non-compliant food temperatures, spoiled or rotten food, and unwillingness to make menu adjustments, meals lacking appropriate vegetable and or protein options, and menu changes after diners selected a meal based on the published menu. Files has been unresponsive in attempts to rectify these issues. Conversely, Atlantis Valley has determined to be a responsible and qualified vendor. This resolution authorizes the Human Services Director to contract with Atlantis Valley for 2025 and 2026 Senior Dining and Home Delivered Meal Program. The Human Services Board considered this resolution at its meeting November 12th, 2024, and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, funding for this program is included in the 2025 budget. no budget amendment is necessary. I move for adoption of resolution 2024-73.
Moved by Supervisor Coots. Do I have a second? Second by Supervisor Roberts. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. The resolution passes. Takes us to item 13, Planning and Zoning Committee report. Mr. Jekyll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Report to the honorable members of the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing held on November 21st, 2024, as required by law pursuant to Wisconsin statutes. Notice thereof having been given and being duly advised of the wishes of the town boards and persons in the areas affected, hereby makes the following recommendations. Approval of petitions as listed, dated this 25th day of November 2024, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. Moves us on to ordinance number 2024-17, whereas the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors has heretofore been petitioned to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County, and whereas petitions as listed were referred to Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee for public hearing on November 21st, 2024, and whereas proposed amendments have been given due consideration by the Board of Supervisors in open session, now therefore be it ordained that Jefferson County Board of Supervisors does amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County as followed, and it's all listed there. The above zoning amendments shall be null and void and have no effect 1 year from the date of county board approval unless applicable conditions have been completed. Mr. Chair, I move for adoption of this ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Jekyll, second by Mr. Paulson. Mr. Kennard.
Need to abstain for a potential conflict of interest.
Duly noted. Mr. White.
I must also abstain due to a potential conflict.
Duly noted. Mr. White. We have two
I have to abstain also.
and three abstentions. Mr. Gross. With that, it's voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With three abstaining. And it passes. Item C, resolution referring petition R4379A-22, the Planning and Zoning Committee for further proceedings consistent with the court's order in Jefferson County case number 22 CV334, defend town plans UA versus AL versus Jefferson County Board of Supervisors, et al., versus Jefferson County Supervisors. Mr. Jekyll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution number 2024-74, executive summary. In the April 2022, the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors adopted a zoning ordinance following the approval of the town of Concord, which rezoned approximately 7.4 acres of land located in the town of Concord from A1 exclusive agricultural to A2 agricultural and rural business at the landowner's request per petition R4379A-22. A group of individuals organized under the name Defend Town Plans, UA, subsequently filed a Saturnian action in the Jefferson County Circuit Court seeking to invalidate the rezoning ordinance, alleging the county did not and could not, as a matter of law, find the proposed rezoning was consistent with Jefferson County's comprehensive plan as required by Wisconsin Statute 9148. The Circuit Court found the county failed to make the findings required by Wisconsin Statute 9148, but did not address the consistency argument that vacated the rezoning ordinance. Jefferson County subsequently appealed the Circuit Court's decision. The Court of Appeals issued a decision on October 17, 2024, which affirmed but modified the Circuit Court's decision. The Court of Appeals agreed that Circuit Court's determination that the county failed to articulate the findings required by Wisconsin Statute 9148 for a rezone out of farmland preservation zoning district. However, the Circuit Court of Appeals disagreed with the Court of Appeals disagreed with the Circuit Court's determination as the appropriate remedy. Specifically, the Court of Appeals found because of the failings to articulate the findings was an error that could be potentially cured. The county should be given opportunity to make findings required by Wisconsin Statute 9148 in rejecting defendant town plan's arguments that remand would be futile. The Court of Appeals noted that comprehensive plan is an advisory guide to development rather than a rigid set of rules, and found that consistency with the county's comprehensive plan is quintessentially an assessment for the county to make. In accordance with the Court of Appeals decision on November 20th, 2024, Circuit Court issued an order remanding the matter back to the Board of Supervisors for further proceedings consistent with the appellate decision. This resolution refers petition R 4379A-22 back to the Planning and Zoning Committee for further proceedings to consider the findings required per Wisconsin Statute 9148 and make a recommendation to the county board regarding the proposed rezoning. Fiscal note: passage of this resolution has no determinable fiscal impact. Mr. Chairman, I move for adoption of this resolution.
Moved by Mr. Jekyll, second by Mr. Paulson. Questions and discussion? Mr. Kennard.
I abstain since I was a surveyor on this.
Yep. I expected that was coming. Any other questions, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. Takes us to item number 14. Appointments by the county board chair. By virtue of the authority vested in me under Board Rule 3.05, Parent 1, Parent N, and Section 59.54, Parent 8, I hereby request a confirmation of the following appointments. Shane Hart, Nick Thompson, Keith Robsky, and Brian Udovich as representatives of owners and operators of facilities to the Local Emergency Planning Committee, the LEPC, for indeterminate term. I respectfully request your approval.
Move to approve.
Moved by Mr. Morris. Second by Mr. Paulson. Third by Mr. Brogler. Oh, we had a question.
Okay, I know Brian serves us well at the Highway Department. Is it true that the other three gentlemen that are listed are all from the same organization?
We'll have Tracy, Mike in the back.
Yeah, you can address that, Tracy, please.
Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. It's true. They are all from Johnsonville. We had somebody from Insight that is no longer on the LAPC. We had reached out to a few of our offsite facilities to see if anyone was interested in including Purina. We just did an exercise with Johnsonville about a month or two ago, and each of these individuals have a different role at the facility. We had the privilege of looking at their plans and their policies and their safety protocols, and that is something that we need on the LAPC to continue looking into the other facilities that we have, either in Tier 2 reports or offsite facilities that we look into every year. So I don't know if, Bruce, you have anything else to add to that, but each one of them play a different role at the facility, and that's what we're looking for.
So in other words, they brought the expertise we felt we needed.
Absolutely, yes. And it's not uncommon to have numerous offsite facilities on an LAPC, but at this time we just don't. And we were very fortunate that three of them stepped up One is even going to go into a subgroup for our LEPC that we just created to help us review the numerous planning tier 2 reports that we have.
Mr. Lund?
I also wanted to raise the concern of the potential conflict of interest that having three members of this committee from the same company raises, that there's the potential for prioritization of that company's interests over the public interest, also having limited perspectives on the committee. And beyond that, even if they all act in good faith, there's the appearance of bias or impropriety.
Can I respond?
Yes, you, please do.
Okay. At this time, I don't feel there's bias. Like I said, they each play a different role at this particular facility. If we could have other facilities step up and join our LAPC, we would welcome that. At this time, we have none that are willing to. And to be part of the statute regulations for our LAPC, we have 5 specific groups that we have to choose from to be on our committee, and one of them is offsite facilities. So you have to be within one of those 5 groups in order to be on our committee, per se.
The committee is 20-some people, isn't it?
We currently have 17. This 3 with Johnsonville would be 20, and then Bryan would be 21.
So they would not, Mr. Lund, they would not establish a quorum.
Thank you.
I saw, somebody else had their hand up.
Supervisor Gould.
Supervisor Gould.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I express the same concerns and kind of second the concerns of my colleague, Mr. Lund, about the number from one business. I guess I'm curious, how wide was the call put out for members to this committee, and that nobody else with these qualifications from any other entity came forward in the whole county?
Yep. We put out, like I said, we do 25% of our offsite facilities that we're required here in the county. We monitor, review those plans every year. And every facility is pretty much well known that we have an LEPC, and if you'd like to join, you can. Again, we have ample opportunity for them to come, and we've reached out to Purina 3-4 times with no callback. We can only do so much begging in some situations, and Johnsonville was gracious when we asked them. They said absolutely. Again, there's a lot of knowledge there. They each have different positions there, and looking at a lot of their policies and their plan, it's very well done. So.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? They are approved. Amendments by the county administrator.
I have 3 tonight, Mr. Chair. One is Mr. Brandon White to the Veteran Service Committee for a 3-year term ending December 13th, 2027. And then to the Civil Service is William Gallagher for a 5-year term ending January 1st, 2030, and Kevin Purcell from Fort Atkinson for a 5-year term to the Civil Service Commission for term ending January 2030. And it's done by the virtue of the authority vested in me under Section 59.18, Parent 2, Parent B of the Wisconsin State Statute. I respectfully request confirmation of these appointments.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Brogler, second by Mr. Jekyll and Mr. Morris. Questions? Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the appointments are approved. Takes us to public comment of a general nature. Was there any listed back there?
Yes, I have a public comment of a general nature. This is a recent study done by the Harvard University, which is kind of like hard to believe, but it's kind of a very interesting study. Human Flourishing Index. All right, that's basically how you feel every day, or, a wide range of different questions asked. But basically, it was a study done from 0 to 10, and basically, it was a rating of people across all different types of demographics, and it was was from 6.5 to 7.9. And the people with the 7.9 rating were the ones that are actually celebrating Christmas and following the book that got eliminated out of the educational system back in 1962.
I have one small request for public comment. Mr. Lucky, could you please come up and just give a brief, within 3 minutes of our legislative breakfast and how you felt that went?
Thank you. Thursday the 5th, we held a legislative breakfast here. Had a lot of great work from staff organizing that. It was something that when I spent my time in the Capitol, about a decade staffing different legislators, there were some communities that would organize these summits essentially of all the area representatives and senators to come in and meet with local elected officials, business leaders, and kind of just talk about what their priorities were going into the year. We had a phenomenal turnout for the first one. A number of county board supervisors. I don't know exactly how many, but there were a lot of department heads as well, people that were in this room. 3 representatives from town governments. 7 of the 9 villages and cities were represented in person, plus some sent some comments in. And we had 5 or 6 of our state legislative delegation, including 2 newly elected to represent Jefferson County, and staff from 2 of our congressional offices as well, giving their updates. We had the opportunity, I exercised kind of hosting privilege to talk about some of the priorities that we have discussed here, including farmland preservation, EMS, economic development, some courts funding, some mental health funding, and finally some additional collaboration. And those themes were echoed by every level of government. They also talked a lot about housing, some approvals through DOT, changing some of the maintenance requirements from DOT on our roads for snow plowing. And I was just very, very thrilled. I was happy the whole day after it was done, even though I was running on about 2 hours of sleep between getting my remarks done and getting here early to set up. We're going to try and do another one for April 25th. We already sent out a save the date. We want to do it on April 25th because given the timing of the state budget, that would likely be between the public hearings that are done by the Finance Committee, but give us at least 2 weeks before the Finance Committee starts voting on those in executive session, which would then be in May. So that would allow us to get our last plugs in before the state budget starts coming together. I was very happy. I know a number of people expressed that they were happy with it too. I think it positions us very well into the future to keep advocating for the things that are important to us.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for a wonderful job. Mr. Christensen, you had a...
I just wanted to add that Michael Lucky did an excellent job as the MC of that breakfast event, and I appreciate that he did that.
And Bonton did a good job with the breakfast. With that, is there any other public comment? Announcements? Any announcements? Mr. Waymeyer.
Just a reminder, Thursday, 3 to 6 o'clock, Highway Harry's, appetizers.
Sounds excellent. Thank you very much. And I wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas and whatever. And I do want to go. And the best to all of you. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Gulig, second by half a dozen people. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.